and gentlemen, my name is Bob Brown. I'm with the Hong Kong Canada Business Association, and I've been involved in Things Hong Kong for the past 20-some years. And it's my pleasure and honor to moderate the panel today for our Hong Kong family. HKCBA, the Hong Kong Canada Business Association, is a proud member of what we call the Hong Kong family in Canada. And that's the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, Invest Hong Kong, Hong Kong Tourism Board, HKCBA, and Cathay Pacific Airways. We're delighted to have this opportunity to have this workshop within the 75th annual conference of IE Canada. This is the third year we've been able to do this, and we really welcome and we thank Mary and all the people at IE Canada for this opportunity. Our Hong Kong family has a special, close and growing relationship with IE Canada. And if you were made aware of the events of yesterday, you will know that we received one of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council and Hong Kong Canada Business Association received one of the special recognitions as a long-term member. So turning to today's workshop, I think you all know quite a bit about China. It's experiencing unprecedented economic growth. It's become both a competitive manufacturing base and a lucrative market for businesses from all around the world. It's a country of incredible challenges and incredible opportunities. And really our purpose here today is to talk to you a bit about the challenges and the opportunities, and to carry on our, what we call the Canada-Hong Kong-China momentum, and stressing that we think it's our role in life to say that your smart link to China is through Hong Kong. So the theme of today's workshop is Hong Kong, your gateway to China. And it's organized to help you provide a smart link solution in charting your China business strategy. And it's been said in the last little while by many people that in today's intensely competitive and fast-changing marketplace, any Canadian business that does not have a China strategy does so at its own peril. So we hope that what we say today and we do today will help you with that. Our first speaker is Nathaniel So, who's the Director of Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Canada. Nathaniel has just started his 4th year in this Canadian posting. In fact, he likes Canada so much, he arranged that he could stay an extra year because the normal posting was 3 years. Nathaniel motivates us all. And those of you in the Hong Kong family know what I'm talking about. You're all nodding their heads. He's a great motivator. Other words too, but he's a great motivator. He's traveled extensively across Canada in his 3 years. He'll likely tell you how many times he's been to all the different provinces. And this year he achieved his last, well maybe not his last objective, but he visited the Northwest Territories as well. So, Nathaniel, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bob. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the IE Canada for the 75th conference that you have today. The topic that I'm going to talk about, before I never thought about talking about this topic, but last year, when I went back to Hong Kong, I went to China, and I was surprised that there are so many things that I don't know about my neighbor, which is the Pearl River Delta. I asked one of my friends to take me around the Pearl River Delta to observe the development for the past 10 years, because it has been 10 years I haven't been touring around the Pearl River Delta. And he booked a car for me. We drove along the highway from Hong Kong to Guangzhou. The highway took about 2.5 hours. We are driving at the speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Along this 2 hours on the car, what I can see on both sides of the highways are factories, all factories. So imagine if you are driving 2 hours and on both sides of the highway it's all clusters of factories. How dynamic this part of the world is. So when I came back, I began to figure out maybe I should share this experience with my Canadian partners here and tell you what happens in the Pearl River Delta and why the Pearl River Delta will mean a lot to you if you are doing business with China, if you are importing from China, if you are selling to China. Today's topic is on outsourcing, so I'll talk a little bit more on how this Pearl River Delta relates to you if you are thinking about outsourcing some of your manufacturing to China. When we talk about outsourcing, we really have to talk about 3 things. The first one is that you have to find a reliable source, so that when you order something, they will arrive at the right time, at the right quality. You also want a competitive price, and for this one, I think everybody knows that nowadays China is very competitive in terms of pricing. The third is, of course, you don't want your goods to arrive and then you think that this is not of the right quality that you demand. So, how can you assure that you can achieve these 3 objectives of reliability, quality, and competitive pricing? There are 5 reasons that Hong Kong may be able to help you in this aspect. The first one is that we have been doing business with China for so many years now. Since 1978, when China opened to the outside world, Hong Kong is the first to enter in this market. And we are the biggest investor in China for so many years. We still maintain the highest investment in China up to the present day. So we have gathered a lot of experience in working with China. And this experience can be shared with people here. We have been able to help a lot of companies to source products through Hong Kong, products from the mainland China, and indeed we handle a lot of those goods manufactured in the southern part of China. Just to tell you what happens in the southern part of China, just across the border, Hong Kong owns about 70,000 factories, and we are employing 11 million workers across the border. 11 million workers. Put it into the perspective of Canada. It's actually your working population here. So this is how we might be able to help you. Through Hong Kong, you can have a lot of access to the information in China because we have free-flow of information. Anything that happens in China, good or bad, you can hear it in Hong Kong. And we have the supporting infrastructure to help you to ship your product here, trade financing facilities in Hong Kong, and all sorts of trade-related services are available in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is actually the 11th largest trading economy in the world. Canada is the 9th, so we are not that far away from Canada, but the size of Hong Kong is much, much smaller than Canada. The good thing about Hong Kong is that most of the companies in Hong Kong are trade-related, and indeed, a lot of foreign companies set up their sourcing centers in Hong Kong. We estimated that of all these 3,200 foreign companies in Hong Kong, half of them are trade-related companies. We are the window to sourcing in China. We handle about 20% of the trade of mainland China. And when we talk about the Pearl River Delta alone, Hong Kong actually handle about 80% of the trade of the Pearl River Delta. Now I'd like to show this picture of a satellite picture of the world. And when we look at China, I think from common sense will tell you that the brightest spot in China will be the spot where most of the economic activity are happening. Now if you look at this picture, guess where is the brightest spot? It's definitely not the one that people often think about. It's Hong Kong and the Pearl River Delta. And the Pearl River Delta is the most dynamic region. The Pearl River Delta, the GDP, per capita GDP in the Pearl River Delta is the highest in mainland China. And if we include Hong Kong, of course, it's still even higher than the rest of China. The importance of the Pearl River Delta cannot be underestimated because it accounts for 30% of China's export and imports. And it produces 50% of the export of a lot of electronic products that we can buy here. I can tell you that most of the brand makers that you find in North American market are manufactured in the Pearl River Delta. The American no longer manufacture it. They are all OEM products from the Pearl River Delta. DVDs are also from the Pearl River Delta. So whatever and even the electrical lightings that you buy from China here are manufactured in the Pearl River Delta. So are the furniture that you're buying here. We are closely linked to the Pearl River Delta. Hong Kong provides the kind of capital, the financial services, management of the logistics for the Pearl River Delta, and we also help in transferring technology into the Pearl River Delta by bringing foreign technologies, commercializing it, and then helping the factories in that part of the region to modernize itself. And Hong Kong is an electoral hub to do business in that part of the world because within 5 hours flight, you will have access to half of the world's population from Hong Kong. Imagine 5 hours is actually from Toronto to Vancouver. But from Toronto to Vancouver, this 5-hour flight, from Toronto, how many of the world population you are covering? But from Hong Kong, we are covering half. What we provide is for the logistics and transportation. We operate the most sophisticated container port and airport in the world. Our container port, the throughput is second in the world, and all our air cargo is actually the highest in the world. So we do a lot of support to the Pearl River Delta in providing the logistic hub, the logistic and transportation for goods and products from that part of the Pearl River Delta. We also provide financial services in trade financing. And many people, when you are doing business in China, you might want to have access to some of the local bank in Hong Kong, which can arrange your LCN and others. Insurance services and others are also very well developed in Hong Kong. One of the most important things that I want to stress is that we are the only city in China which operate using the common law system. And also we are the only city in China which use English as an official language. Now if you think about your case, which is Canada, which is based on a common law system and English as an official language, you will find Hong Kong a very, very user-friendly place to do business with. So that's actually what I want to stress about Hong Kong. When you talk about global sourcing, Hong Kong can always help you. A lot of companies have actually set up their global sourcing center in Hong Kong, and they have been very successful using Hong Kong as a base to source product from the mainland. I'd like to stress one other thing about Hong Kong, which is very dear to the heart of Canadians. Because throughout the years, we have a lot of immigrants from Hong Kong. We estimate about 1 million immigrants from Hong Kong to Canada. And about 250,000 of them are now living in Hong Kong. So there are about 250,000 Canadian passport holders in Hong Kong. Together with those which are present in Canada, this creates a very strong social linkage between Hong Kong and Canada. This can always help companies who want to do business with China through Hong Kong. Our investment in Canada is also very substantive. Hong Kong invested about 5.6 billion Canadian dollar in Canada, and Canada also invested quite substantially in Hong Kong, 3.8 billion Canadian dollar in Hong Kong. And these are the companies which have been operating in Hong Kong, and I know many of them are very familiar with some of the companies here. Like Manulife and Sun Life, many of you are familiar with them. Service industry in particular use Hong Kong to penetrate the Chinese market because of a free trade agreement that we have signed with China. Under this free trade agreement, any products that are manufactured in Hong Kong, satisfying the rule of origin, can be exported into the mainland. I still use the word exported into the mainland because Hong Kong is treated as a separate custom entity in mainland Chinese eye. So our products are export to China, and product from China are import to Hong Kong. So we, under this free trade agreement, whatever produced in Hong Kong can be exported into the mainland free of tariff. And what this free trade agreement also offers is that service industry in Hong Kong can now have preferential access to the mainland market. And a lot of banks actually use Hong Kong as use this free trade agreement to help them to penetrate into the mainland Chinese financial market. These are the Canadian companies which are present in Hong Kong for the moment. I think this list is not comprehensive because there are many Canadian companies that we might not be able to capture their names. A lot of companies are actually operated by Hong Kong people, and we can't identify whether they are Hong Kong-owned company or Canadian-owned company these days because of the social linkages that I talk about. Finally, I'd like to talk about a report by the Asian Pacific Foundation. They actually surveyed a number of firms, and these firms ascertain that Hong Kong is still the best place for doing business in China, and this is a very important trading and investment platform for Canadian companies. Today we are here to help you. If you are thinking about doing business in China, actually there are a number of organizations that can help you. Our office is called the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, which is very much like a trade commissioner in the sense of an embassy. Because we are not a country, we belong to China, but we operate very separately. We set up a Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office to offer advices and offer services to companies who want to trade with Hong Kong and do business in Hong Kong. This is where the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office. Under our Economic and Trade Office, we have an Invest Hong Kong, which is a department in Hong Kong situated, set up to help companies who want to set up operations in Hong Kong and using Hong Kong as a base to do business with China. The Hong Kong Trade Development Council, of which Andrew Yoi, another speaker, will be talking about his service later, is actually a statutory organization set up by the government to help companies to promote bilateral trade between Canada and Hong Kong. And Andrew will be talking about a number of services that the Hong Kong Trade Development Council will be offering. So without further ado, I will stop here. I will be very glad to answer any questions.
One of the things I want you to go away from here today is that PC doesn't stand for President's Choice anymore. It stands for Premier Connect. Okay, you're going to hear a little bit about Premier Connect from Andrew. Andrew has been for many years Hong Kong Trade Development Council Director for Canada. He is a true Canadian. He won't leave Canada, much to the chagrin of the people in TDC in Hong Kong. But so Andrew is with us. He has a few strange tastes in hockey teams and baseball teams, but other than that, he's a fairly normal Canadian. We refer to Andrew as Hong Kong's secret weapon. And for those of you from our family here and who've been around for a while, you all know what I mean by that. He's active, conscientious, helpful. His energy and momentum keeps us all hopping. He's also known as our own email bomber. So Andrew Yoi, please.
Introduction. In fact, Bob describes me as a fan of hockey and baseball. So when I saw this 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I thought that is a penalty, so put me in the penalty box. In the past, when I am and I was introduced, I always describe myself as a business matchmaker, and I always ask people to remember me as a business matchmaker. In fact, today, I hope that no matter, even though you are not going to remember anything about me after this event, I hope that you remember the 2 letters, PC, not President's Choice, not Pierre Cardin, but Premier Connect. And I hope that at the end, this PC will also turn into profit center for all. And if you follow me in the next 10 minutes, you may be able to get a price between $100 to $300. So don't lose your focus. My organization is Hong Kong Trade Development Council. Masani has already introduced that we are Hong Kong semi-government organization. Our major mandate is to promote Hong Kong's international trade. We promote both imports and exports, and we promote services and merchandise. Our office in Canada, based in Toronto, is mandated to encourage and assist Canadian companies to do more trade, more businesses with Hong Kong and with China through Hong Kong. What we do is we have three major services that Canadian companies would like to make use of. We provide business intelligence. We also provide business matching service, which I will talk more in greater details later on. We also provide sourcing and selling platforms for Canadian companies. We have an international network of offices in major cities around the world. In Canada, we have one office based in Toronto. We have a trade portal site called tdctrade.com, which is basically an market intelligence source. If you're looking for business intelligence for Hong Kong, or business intelligence of China, or even of markets around the world, you can go to tdctrade.com, and I can assure that you will not be disappointed. In fact, every day we have a daily hit of 6 million. So if 6 million visitors go to our website every day, it can't be too wrong. So next time when you surf the internet, please visit our tdctrade.com and see what you can find. One of our major services is called Business Matching Service. It is actually a very simple system, but it is very efficient and very effective. Suppose that you are now ready to expand your businesses to China or to Hong Kong, but you are looking for contacts, because one of the first things that you would like to do is to find potential business partners over there to work with you. Now, you can start in many ways. You can go to the internet to search for business contacts, or go to some other places. One of the places that you can consider is contact our office. Under this business matching service, what we do is that once we hear what you are interested in selling or buying, or other business interests, except investment, because investment, we have Invest Hong Kong, Shirley Wong, production. Once you let us know what your business interests are, we may be able to shortlist to 5 qualified companies for you to contact. Now, what does it mean? It means that it saves you a lot of time, a lot of resources to look for potential partners in Hong Kong. We have 2 levels of services. One is basic services, which is free of charge, complimentary. Once you let us know what you want to sell or what you want to buy, from our data bank, we have 100,000 Hong Kong companies in our data bank. From that data bank, we can easily find potential business contacts in Hong Kong for you. We don't charge anything for that. What you get is a list of Hong Kong companies, company name, contact person, address, etc. However, under this basic service, we do not contact Hong Kong companies for you. So when you write to them, they may not know your existence, and you may not get an answer that quickly or that easily. In view of that, we have recently introduced a new service called Premier Connect PC, Premier Connect Service. Under this Premier Connect Service, what you have to do is you have to pay a nominal fee because we are using additional resources to help you to do the first step of screening. My Hong Kong head office team will first of all find a contact list, qualified contact list to match your business interests. But they will not just send a list. What they will do is they will contact Hong Kong companies, these Hong Kong companies, to find out that if they are interested in your business, particular business inquiry. Only for those Hong Kong companies which indicate interest or indicate interest in receiving, in communicating, then we will send those Hong Kong companies contacts to you. In addition, we don't just send you the basic contact list of details. We also send you background of those Hong Kong companies, as well as market information of your particular sector. So this is what we call a PC, Premier Connect Business Matching Service. It is a very simple system, but it works. Now, because it will use quite a lot of our resources, and in order to avoid people abusing the system, so we have decided to charge a nominal fee. If you are sourcing products from Hong Kong, i.e. if you're buying from Hong Kong, per product, per inquiry is $100 US. If you are selling to Hong Kong, it is $300 US. Now, because you take time to come to this seminar, later on, after all the presentations, the first 5 attendees here get in touch with Lily Kem, my business matching manager. Lily, we will provide free of charge to you. So make sure you remember Lily. So this is our Premier Connect Business Matching Service. In addition to business intelligence, in addition to business matching service, we also create sourcing and selling opportunities for Canadian companies, mainly in projects. For example, we organize trade missions to Hong Kong, either to sell or to buy, and very often coinciding with our trade show and conferences in Hong Kong. We believe that trade shows and conferences are very useful platform for companies to get together, to get intelligence, to exchange information, and to find business partners under one roof at the same time, especially sector-specific events. For example, in Hong Kong, we are major trade show organizers. Every year, we organize more than 30 sector-specific international trade shows. And for all these trade shows, we organize Canadian trade missions to Hong Kong, either to buy or to sell. Here is a list of some of the upcoming trade delegations from Canada that we organize to Hong Kong. Last but not least, I want you all to remember these happy faces. This is a ceremony celebrating the launch of a product consisting of Canadian elements in it. What happened was, a few years ago, a Halifax company called Ocean Nutrition, they produce omega-3 nutrients. It's a subsidiary of Clearwater, the famous lobster producer. They want to open up the Hong Kong and China market. So what they did was they used our business matching service. We provide them with some Hong Kong companies' contacts. And then they started contacting those Hong Kong companies. Afterward, they joined our Canadian Life Sciences trade mission to Hong Kong. And eventually, they signed up a Hong Kong agent. Through the Hong Kong agent, they have been in cooperation with a Hong Kong fresh milk producer. And then they start selling omega-3 fresh milk in Hong Kong. In all the 7-Elevens in Hong Kong, you can now find their product. And on top of that, they also use the Hong Kong platform, use the Hong Kong business partner to launch their omega-3 nutrients to the Pearl Delta. The Pan-Pearl Delta have a total population of 450 million people, equivalent to the whole EU population. So the potential is huge. Where do they start? They start with PC, they start with Hong Kong. And I hope that you will all remember all these happy faces And please remember TC, Freeway Connect Service. Thank you.
The people in the Hong Kong family are fairly close. We get along well together. We have several missions, and they include working hard, doing lots of business, and having fun. So we try to enjoy ourselves at all these events, and I hope that you will enjoy them as well. Our next speaker is Ian Marshall. What can I say? A true friend and business colleague for over 35 years. Knowledgeable, practical, believable, common sense, down-to-earth, experienced. Ian has a very helpful and interesting message for you today, which I hope you'll enjoy.
Well, thanks, Bob. In the mid-'80s, I first experienced the rush of business of Hong Kong. At that time, my role was as a senior manager with the Canadian arm of Hong Kong Bank. And my objective during that first visit was to really gain this insight, and it had really opened my vision of the opportunities that existed in this trade center that I really didn't have a very good picture of from my domestic raising in business. When I went out to a lunch, everybody was talking about exchange rates, sterling, US. I suddenly realized that before I go to dinner, I better bone up on these things, because as the banker, they were expecting me to be right on top of things. But throughout the whole week, the whole conversation, every time revolved around business. And I saw a whole new avenue of how to discuss and relate to my own clients in Canada about Hong Kong, because it truly was a center for doing trade. Well, over the years, through my association with Hong Kong Bank and Hong Kong Canada Business Association, my involvement with the trade group stayed firm. Even though my roles within Canadian banking moved back into the domestic, and then I moved out of banking altogether into our family company in healthcare education and healthcare products. But it changed from banking, but still very much involved with opportunity in the Pacific Rim. About 5 years ago, well, I thought that I could use the internet to my best advantage to try and locate good trade opportunities in Hong Kong. Heck, I'd go onto a site and there would be a company in Hong Kong in healthcare products. Take down the name and address and the email, go to another site, pick up another opportunity. So I was building myself a nice little list of potential contacts for free, taking my own time and effort though, and spending a fair bit of time sending emails that didn't get answered. Off I went to the Hong Kong Forum, and thinking in between I'll fill in these appointments that I had made and strike my first real business opportunity. Well, this is not a story that ends with a success on this chapter. Because what I learned from using the internet without a service like BC Premier Connect is that you can have great optimism and hope and planning and come away empty-handed. Some of those contacts were things like a bait and switch. What's that? Well, that's in the email that you've written out to say, I've got this healthcare product to introduce you to, and they say, sure, I'd like to know about that. You go to their office. 5 minutes after you've made the presentation, you say, well, that's very interesting. Now let us show you what we have to offer that we can export to Canada. And they have no interest, really, in importing your product. They're not bona fide. The next thing that occurred was to go to a facility down an alleyway and look at the building and say, well, that doesn't really fit the perspective of what I was looking at and having the sales that they do and the size of the company. I wouldn't even go in the doorway. Well, that was another one written off the list. A third one, well, I happened to go for the right appointment, and the gentleman was supposed to be there, but no, I was delegated down the ladder to someone else once they realized that I was truly just a small businessman trying to do small business and with a small business person. I wasn't a big opportunity. Another lack of bona fide situation. I became quite frustrated, as you might appear. Go to all that effort. I came back to the hotel and spoke to Bob, and he said, well, why don't you go tomorrow and see the TDC offices anyway and see what they can do. So off I went, and I met with an officer, very, very helpful, said out to me, well, you know, here's what went wrong, here's how we could have helped, but you're getting on a plane tomorrow, and we could have done all of this before you left for Hong Kong. We could have set those appointments with bona fide individuals. We could have checked out who it was you were going to see and made sure that they were a match for you. These were the days before making a match was really formalized and Premier Connect came to existence. So that's not the route to go. The internet by yourself is fraught with lost opportunity and time and cost when you were taking your airfare in your hotel and your time at doing other things. Well, a couple of years ago, though, the story in my next chapter began to become very, very positive in my association with TDC, because one of the TDC officers approached our school, myself, and said, you know, we have an interested school in Hong Kong that's looking in Australia, in the United States, and Canada to find a partner teaching nutritional counseling. And we'd like to introduce them to you because we know of your school and we know you. Well, out of that, 18 months later, when I went to Hong Kong last year, was a wonderful new alliance to start exporting our intellectual property from our school in Ottawa, Ontario. And it is now, this month, being taught in Hong Kong. We have 12 students registered taking our nutritional counseling program with Hong Kong Cambridge College. Does this represent Hong Kong to us? Absolutely not, because they're the gateway for us into China in next year. Already that school has taken the initiative to go off to find new avenues for taking our intellectual property through their arm into China. But that's not the story of trade today, because the real success of last year came when we said we have healthcare products that we want to introduce into the Hong Kong market. And so we contacted the TDC, this time doing it right. And they were very helpful in identifying, first of all, we had to do a little paperwork to get some profile of who we were looking for and who we were, because the matching process is just a bit of guess. They want to really identify for you the customer that's suitable for you and your style of business. Well, it wasn't long before we began to get a free flow of information and clients being identified for us, and we decided on meeting two companies. Well, we arrived in Hong Kong, my business colleague at that time, Paul Banks, and myself, and we arrived at the TDC Pavilion, and it was totally organized, I will say that, because all we had to do was go to a reception, and in room number 1 were our first clients waiting to meet us. And remember, they'd already been bona fide, they'd already been checked. They knew who we were, and we knew who they were. And so a lot of the general introductions didn't need to take place other than establish that moment of bond and begin to make your presentation. They were informed people who know their customers, they knew the products, and they knew what they wanted. In the first particular presentation that we made, when I say they know their customers and they know what they wanted, we were presenting at that time nutritional botanicals. Now, we had about 30 pounds worth of the different samples that we brought with us from South Africa and California through our contacts that we put together, as well as our own products from Canada. And what we found is that, well, you know what? By the time we bring this in from South Africa and we put it on our shelves, this packaging doesn't cut it. Your premier product coming to Hong Kong with a premier price, it has to look like that. Wow, we were a little bit taken back because, you know, we'd spent all of our time and effort making a quality product and packaging that was suitable for North America, but not thinking about the other side of things. How do we make it premier acceptable off the shelf? He was not concerned about the quality, but the packaging wasn't right. And we learned right from that. But he did have an interest in some of our other things, but he came along and said, bring this repackaged next year, and we'll have a deal. The next appointment was 30 minutes later. That particular couple came in, we sat down, we went through the same product line. They didn't talk about the packaging. I said, well, what do you think about the packaging? And they said, well, our interests actually aren't necessarily the botanicals you're talking about. We looked at your website, and we saw that you had a Canadian-made shampoo and conditioner. Now, if you think that we really believed we were going to go to Hong Kong and sell shampoo and conditioner as our product, well, you were as surprised as we were. Because that's where the interest went. The packaging was right, it had the maple leaf on it, and it was a quality, environmentally friendly product, herbal-based. Exactly what they were looking for. So in the end, we did have a successful venture. It didn't happen right away. The SME conference and trade show that goes on at the same time gave us another 2 hours to walk around with these clients outside to get to know one another, strike some business transaction, do the follow-up. But here we are today with shipment has taken place to Hong Kong on our shampoo. So we have a success story on the educational side and the export of intellectual property. We have a success story on a direct sale of our own product. The third success story came out of that same visit. When we finished up on our appointments, the TDC officer said, well, why don't you go along to these particular streets, because there's a number of people that might not have made it here today that have stores there you could go to see. So we did it. We made cold calls, not thinking we'd get any business out of it. But Hong Kong is about business. And we happened to strike it right, because one of the owners of the franchise store that we went to, well, he knew they didn't have this product in Hong Kong. He says, but our head office in California would be very interested in this. And he put us in touch directly that day with the California office. And the California manufacturer, the two are together, and starting next month, they'll be shipping 1,000 bottles a month of the product to Hong Kong, to the Hong Kong outlet, as a stepping stone for launch into mainland China. So, 3 little successes. And what did it start with? Doing some planning ahead of time through TDC and Premier Connect. Is it worth $100, $200, $300? Believe me, 5 years ago, I would have paid $300 gladly to have not wasted our first venture. So my recommendation to you is think about it, use the services that are available to you, and use the expertise and knowledge available to you. Story, small business, doing small business, and we did it successfully with PC Connect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The first 3 speakers have talked to you all about the Hong Kong advantage. I'm going to be really brief, by the way, because I'm hungry and thirsty. So I really want to just talk to you about another advantage of Hong Kong, and really that's the Hong Kong advantage as the #1 logistics gateway to China and Southeast Asia. And having been to Hong Kong on many occasions and several times a year for probably the last 20 years, Hong Kong just always gets better. But it really boasts of probably the best ocean port in the world. While it's getting challenges in terms of volume from Shanghai and others, it's still the most efficient, reliable ocean port in the world. In fact, Hutchison, that runs a lot of the terminals there, is running ports now even in the United States. It's that Hong Kong advantage. They also have one of the leading international airports in the world. In fact, if you've ever been to Hong Kong, you'll be amazed at just how quickly and smoothly you come in and out of Hong Kong, but also how efficient the goods that you are moving also go quickly, efficiently, and reliably in a cost-effective manner. What you're seeing today, for example, is Hong Kong continues to be that gateway, probably will be that way for a long time. However, trade, of course, has increased in such dramatic amounts. We need other options. And China really has begun over the last 3 to 5 years to follow the lead of Hong Kong. And that's in modernizing its ocean ports and its airports. The top 10 cities in China now have very modern airports that are built for the future. And of course, Shanghai will become the largest probably ocean port in the world as time goes on. But Hong Kong will always have its gateway, its status, because of the heavy business from the Pearl River Delta. In fact, if you've been to Hong Kong and in the harbor, you'll see literally hundreds of ships every day, small vessels, feeder vessels coming down from the Pearl River Delta, smaller ships coming from other parts of Southeast Asia to go into the Hong Kong terminals and the ocean port to be put onto larger vessels and go around the world. But just to show you that growth, it continues to grow, over the next several years, close to 100 new container berths will be built in China alone. Each one of those new container berths will be able to handle 500,000 TEUs, or 20-foot containers, a year. So that's 100 new ones. Well, by the way, in North America, on our west coast, over the next 5 years, no more than 5 new berths are planned. So that just shows you the huge amount of trade in the container business that exists out of that part of the world. So Hong Kong will, I submit to you, continue to really play a very, very key and vital role. When you're in Hong Kong, you'll find all the leading shipping lines, the leading freight forwarders of the world are located in Hong Kong. Same at the airport. Well, in fact, Cathay Pacific, to show you the growth even in air traffic for products, is now has a direct flight that just started last month from between Toronto and Hong Kong. So we got traders going now. Cathay Pacific is celebrating its 60th anniversary as the top airline in the world. So again, if you can just see more and more how Hong Kong is that reliable. And then we all talk about reliability and quality of service. Well, that has to be the Hong Kong trademark. For those of you who've been at our annual conference at Canada over the past several years, we always had it was 2 years ago, the service never was a problem from Hong Kong. The service was a problem from our ports. To here to Toronto, for example. I remember 2 years ago, there were 7 trains waiting to be unloaded in Toronto here. In fact, my Halloween costume was stuck in one of them, so I had to go as a fat guy with glasses with my grandchildren at Halloween. We had tremendous problems. This year, we aren't experiencing that. We're actually having a kind of a dull year in terms of our conference. If you notice, everybody's not moaning and groaning about the pathetic service of the railways and the shipping lines and everybody else. And that's because I think our companies, our big importers and exporters are looking at more, not putting all their eggs in one basket. Our railways have done a good job in modernizing and establishing better services. In fact, they told us at the Canada Maritime Conference, Canada-Asia Maritime Conference 2 weeks ago in Vancouver, they told us, the railways, both of them, that they have enough capacity, we have enough capacity in Canada for the next 3 years, that they're handling the growth. And at this conference, I haven't heard anybody complain, so things must be moving very well. But it's funny because nobody ever complains about Hong Kong and the service that comes out of there. It was more, and that's because, you see, Hong Kong spent its money years ago, began to spend literally billions of dollars building this terrific infrastructure that they have. So if you ever get to Hong Kong, you got to tour the port, you got to tour the airport. It's just literally blows your mind when you see the capacity they have today and for the future. So they've never had the problems that we experience here at home, because we plain and simply have a pathetic infrastructure, because our provincial and federal governments for the past 25 years have taken our money and our gas taxes and tire taxes and everything else and spent it on themselves or something else, because we didn't improve our infrastructure. So while we're at home scrambling to catch up, here you see Hong Kong's already there, and China is building for the future, building for their Olympic Games and in their airports. It's just amazing when you go in and see all these big things in their airport that are sitting there empty because they'll be ready for 2008. And yet Hong Kong continues. Everybody, I remember a few years ago, people saying, Andrew and Bethania, that, well, Hong Kong will be lost because Shanghai and those other ports in China, they're going to take that. Well, the reality is there's so much business that we need Hong Kong. And Hong Kong will survive, will continue to grow, continue to provide the best service in the world to us here in North America. So that's a very, very good thing for us, and we want that to happen, because as any of our good importers and exporters will tell you, you have to have those options. So people always see Hong Kong as an option, and they see no reason why they have to make changes. They may, for example, move goods out of both places, such as Shanghai and direct to North America, and as well as Hong Kong. So they'll put and that's because they can get different routings. You'll see, the Suez Canal, for example, they're sending goods. There's some ships going out of Hong Kong, half empty, picking up container traffic in India, for example, and going through the Suez Canal coming to Halifax. There's ships that are using the Panama Canal going up to the east coast of the United States. And so Hong Kong, again, will continue to play that important role. And Hong Kong is very important, by the way, the rest of Southeast Asia as well. Other countries in that part of the world depend on the good facilities and infrastructure that Hong Kong has so that they can keep their goods moving. So I'm very proud to say I'm very proud of Hong Kong. I love the city, and of course I love the racetrack there as well as the food. You can tell I like the food. But again, I really hope that if you have an opportunity, that when you do visit Hong Kong, just go to see and have a tour at their port, their ocean port and their airport, because it's mind-boggling when you see that literally there's as many ships there in a day as Vancouver would probably see in a year. It's that huge, you know. I'm probably exaggerating a bit, but it's remarkable. It's literally, and as I said, when you can see that they're building 100 new container berths that'll hold 500,000 TEUs a year each in China, it just shows you the explosion of trade and why Hong Kong will always continue to play its vital role. Thank you.
9 provinces in the southern part of China, together with Hong Kong and Macau, forming an economic bloc. We call it Life as Two, just for easy remembrance. This actually, 450 million people is a huge population. It is the EU added together, and it's larger, all the population is larger. It will become a very major market in the southern part of China. Now, what is happening after we form this economic bloc with the southern part of China? Originally, the thinking is that by having this economic bloc, all the activity will grow through a main entity, which is Guangzhou. But after signing this economic bloc, actually, all those provinces goes to Hong Kong directly and talk to us about cooperation. Now, this is one aspect about what Hong Kong will be doing in future for this economic bloc. We will be teaming up with different provinces, and they will be using the services in Hong Kong, trading services, financial services, etc. The other which is happening right now is we are building a lot of roads and railways. And these roads and railways are connecting those hinterland of China to the southern part of China, the ports in the southern part of China. When I was in Chengdu, in the Sichuan province, I actually asked this question: what will be the comparable to them in terms of transportation? They told me that at the present moment, the goods are transported to Shanghai ports and use the Shanghai port to export those products. In the future, those products will be transported southwards to the ports in the southern part of China. Now, in the southern part of China, of course, there are a lot of ports being built, but the ports in Hong Kong will still maintain our competitiveness in handling a lot of those products that are coming down. So I do agree with Bob that, you know, despite the fact that a lot of other ports are being built in the mainland, the ports in Hong Kong will still continue to play an important role. And indeed, it is rather common for us to answer questions from some sayers. And my answer is that we often surprise people. A few years later, all those predictions about the fall of Hong Kong, so far we have been disappointing a lot